Welcome to the HabitStack Podcast, where we talk to fellow founders who are in the thick of things as they execute their plans to grow their business. Because stories about past successes are interesting, but hearing from people who are in the middle of the battle right now, that's invaluable. I'm Scott Ward, founder of HabitStack. Today, I'm here with Rami Kalla, president and founder at Point in Time Studios. Rami, thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Scott, it's truly an honor. Thank you for having me today. Very excited.
I have a lot of questions. I want to hear about what Point in Time is all about and everything. But first, I want to hear, I'll be honest with you, I do not know the details. I may have just read the headline and not the article. I don't know if you ever do, probably, but I do sometimes. Some new Google glasses are out. You're a VR, AR guy, I think, and so I thought it'd be kind of interesting to get your take.
So at Point in Time Studios, our just cause, as Simon Sinek would say, is to enrich and revolutionize the human experience. And we do that through our video and XR experiences. And we really like to be on the cutting edge of technology. So we do things like for Axon Taser, we put first responders, TSA, agents in life or death situations in virtual reality and make the right decision to live, the wrong ones you die. And we can do this in a safe environment. We've shot in live prisons, we've shot on freeways and really crazy locations. And we do it all in VR. And we're the first to actually offer certified training where police officers, TSA agents can handle bomb threats, things like that, actually getting certified training in VR. So pretty revolutionary in that regard. So I love all things XR and immersive. My background are really what got me into it. We've been in business for 23 years, started off doing traditional video, got into 3D animation, and then about 10, 12 years ago, got really heavy into XR. I'm a big fan of, skate where the puck is going, the old Wayne Gretzky saying, and I really saw that this is the future. And I remember I put on my first Samsung Gear, and it's just, you slide a phone in, it's this really bulky headset. And all of a sudden I'm watching LeBron warm up courtside. And I was like, man, like I am no longer a passive viewer. I'm actually in the video and I'm experiencing like I'm right there. And then my second aha moment, I was building a new house and they said, okay, imagine those flooring, those countertops, those cabinets, they give you like a little square and you have to like piece it in your head. And I said, why can't I just build my kitchen in VR and put it together, and actually step into it? And so that was kind of got the idea going, okay, let's figure out how to do this and do it at a high level. So I put a team together. We started creating XR experiences, and that's what's allowed us to work with the clients like Axon and other clients. And we've done, I think, 25 experiences for them around the world. So, kind of circling back to what's happening now, and I've talked about this in a lot of my talks on XR, is the glasses we saw originally. You think of Samsung Gear or the Vive headsets. They're great. They're just very isolating. They're big, they're bulky. Well, now what we're seeing is what I really was impressed is Meta came up with the Ray-Ban glasses. I don't have my pair with me, otherwise I pull them out, but would allow you to have Meta AI, allows you to ask for directions. You can look at some, hey, what am I looking at? But also can do, we can listen to music and you can voice text with them. Now they have their
Can I ask you,
holographic.
sorry to interrupt, let me ask you, why aren't you wearing them?
That's a great question. So I do have these sunglasses. They're at my house right now. My brother and my son actually bought the prescription. So you can get the prescription glasses.
Yeah.
Honestly, my reason I didn't get them was the first iteration, they were a little bit heavy and I didn't know if I wanted them sitting on my nose all day long.
Right.
And did I want to have Bluetooth going all day long, on my glasses. So, but now that I've seen they've gotten even lighter, and the sunglasses I just got, they're even smaller. So I would do a prescription. I don't wear my glasses, all day long. I wear contacts too. So those are really cool. Now the next iteration they have, with the little wristband is that then you can pull up maps and, make phone calls, search the web. So it's now happening. The stuff I've been talking about, small wearable glasses, and I can go into AR. Eventually you'll be able to go straight into VR as well. And so it's been exciting. I try to really keep in touch with a lot of the manufacturers, Samsung, Sony, Google, and kind of see what they're doing. I have friends at Microsoft. So I always keep my finger on the pulse. And so I've gotten to see this technology before it comes out. I'm super excited about Google. It's not released yet, but they've admittedly say, hey, we went about it the wrong way with Google Glass. It was too expensive. It was the wrong direction, but Google, they do things at a high level. I'm very excited to see them once they release. I own the Vision Pro. Apple does things at an amazing level from a user interface standpoint. It's incredible, but it's very expensive. I think out the door with everything was $4,500. So
Right. Okay, so there's a few things I want to ask you about. One is, so you spent a chunk of time wearing your AR sunglasses. Is that right?
yes, yep.
What it sounds like there's parts of it that are cool. What did you find to be kind of the most valuable?
I think in my mind was really cool. I'm a weirdo with pictures, man. I love to take pictures. I
Oh, nice.
have I have 4 kids. And so we're going on vacation doing things like I'm always on my phone and I'm always taking pictures. And, my boys are like, okay, here's dad again, taking a bunch
Mhm.
of pictures. What I love about it is that I can be on the beach, you can be anywhere, and I can just snap a picture.
Mhm.
I was in an event recently and there was a celebrity there and I wanted to get a picture. You don't have to do this. You can actually say, hey, Meta, take a picture and it'll do it. So you can kind of even be sneaky with it.
Mhm.
And it'll take really cool, like short videos. So I really loved it. Initially was for family trips and holidays, things like that. But I knew that was kind of the beginning. Right. And
Right.
so now I'm really excited with the next iteration of it. But that was my enjoyment of it. It was,
That
was
was the
family stuff.
killer app.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Great
Um,
question.
okay, so you do this. You do these things. I saw a little bit about what you online, what you're up to. You put for training. You put people in these immersive situations where
Mhm.
it's like a, you know, they have to make decisions and they learn how to operate in like in a game environment. What I mean by that is, the reason that came to mind is because I coach my sons in basketball, and when we practice, they get it, and then they go into the game, and it all falls apart. They don't do the offense at all.
Right.
And
Yep.
so I would imagine the same thing happens with traditional training for a police officer or whoever. There's
Mhm.
the game time situation is different. Your adrenaline's pumping, etc. But this kind of mimics it quite a bit better.
100%. So one of the things that Axon was really working on was getting officers to reach for their taser first. So there's been situations where officers have been in, really dangerous, situations where they've had criminal come at them with, a crowbar running at you. And initial instinct is like, hey, draw out your firearm. But through this training, it's training them to, hey, go to your taser first. If you can tase them, peacefully get them to the ground, great, let's do that. And so that's a big part of it is like, how can we, enforce that? And I'll tell you, we've seen the statistics. We find that there's a 75 increase in retention when you're using virtual reality. If you do regular classroom, I can stand in front of classroom all day long in front of a whiteboard and talk to students. But when you're actually in it and you're immersed in it, I mean, I always liken it to imagine, talking about, the Gettysburg Address, but now I'm going to take you there and you're actually going to hear it from Abraham Lincoln. Right? I mean, that's just a whole nother surreal experience that you can't, just get talking about it. So if I can put you in it and I can train you on it. And what's cool about it is, again, think of it like a choose your own adventure. So I put you in that dangerous situation. You made a mistake. Let's go back and do it again. And then let's talk about it. Right. So that is a really big benefit of it. And nobody got hurt.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, uh, what you're saying is a 75% retention rate when you do it with VR. Well, what's the retention rate when you do it when you go through the experience actually? It's not 100% even then, right? Like, won't
And it's a
necessarily.
75%. Yeah, it's a 75% increase, higher retention rate. Yeah. Than just regular
Oh,
classroom setting.
75% higher. I see. Oh, interesting.
Yes. Right.
Okay.
Increase. Yep. Sorry. Yep. Yeah.
Um, so what percentage of your business is this kind of stuff? It's very cool with like the training stuff.
Yeah. We still do a lot of traditional work. We work with some really awesome casinos creating VR training for new hires. We just train up 1,000 people at Gila River Resorts Casinos, the largest casino in Arizona with 4 locations. And they were actually building a new casino and they needed a quick way to train up new hires and everything from like, welcome to your first day. Like, how do you clock in? And let's take you to all locations and hear from the CEO and all their partners, the Suns, the Cardinals. Imagine busing 1,000 people, the cost and the time where I can now, we have a large classroom setting with a couple hundred headsets and I can do them in segments and, what would take days, we could do it in an hour. Right. So you think about the training now, the time that's, reduced and the cost, it's incredible. But we also do a lot of 3D motion designs. You think of like Las Vegas style animation on these big screens, and then a lot of like high-end commercial work, video work. So to answer your question, XR represents about a third of our business right now. But I think the way things are shifting, the reason I got into it, my belief is all media eventually is going to be immersive, whether it's a 360 panoramic experience, equirectangular, or, a hologram. I really believe that's where it's going. And so that was the reason I got into it, because I think eventually it's going to all shift that direction.
What did you say? Rectangular? What?
Equirectangular. Yeah. So think of like we call it a panoramic experience, right? I can remember like going to Disneyland as a kid. They used to have this one large room and you're flying over this different landscape, and it was a, wraparound screen. You could look behind you and see, I mean, it's been around, and that was in the 80s. You think about pilot simulators, right? I mean, those are simulations. Even going back to cave drawings, we've seen, panoramic cave drawings. So it's not new, but the technology is finally caught up to where computing power is faster, graphics are better, and I can put you in those scenarios. And it looks, I mean, I'll say even just the 10 years I've been doing this, like if I showed you something I did 10 years ago versus today, it'll blow your mind, where you just almost don't know if it's real or not. If you can hear it, taste it, touch it, smell it, is it not real? How does your brain know the difference?
Yeah. What's the
Scary.
answer? How does your brain know? How does your brain
I
know?
don't think it does. Some people say we're in a simulation now, so who knows? Yeah, no. Well, there are people working on, obviously haptic is already pretty big. I just got, I was at a big AWE event a few months ago where I actually had a full, breastplate on, the gloves, and I actually hugged another, an avatar, and you could feel them.
Mm-hmm.
And it was surreal. And you could put your hand across a wheat field and you'd feel the wheat. So you talk about, the haptics already there. Obviously the visuals, be able to have the spatial sound, right? Where something's over here and you can feel it's more than surround, but it's spatial sound. They're already hitting 3 of the senses, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you just got to, taste and smell. And they're working on those. So yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a tangent. I've been thinking about what it might be like to upload your brain to a computer and live forever, kind of thing, and whether or not that would be fun or not. And how I'm not so sure that it would be great, because, or even interesting. Let me see if I can pull my thoughts together and articulate it. When you're in a game, or if you're in a VR situation, like the excitement of, let's say, a race car game, it's because you've been in a car and you've felt it all happen, and you've experienced the risk of going around a curve too fast, right? You've embodied that experience, and that makes the video game fun. So I do wonder, when the prior, like the anchoring or the embodiment part is gone, whether or not anything will be fun, right? Because it's just kind of, is the visual, is the artificial experience or the virtual experience parasitic, basically, on a actual embodied experience or not? But now you bring up this other interesting part of, like, there are, the haptic, and I guess you could ask the same question about that. The wheat field thing, would that have been meaningful at all if you had never actually done that or something similar?
Great question.
I'm not sure. What do you think?
Yeah, I got a couple points to make on that. So Dreamscape does an incredible job. If you ever get a chance to experience any of their stuff, they start off entertainment. They're doing a lot of education now, a lot of higher learning. And they have a program at ASU. They released a biology program. But if you go to Arizona State University, if any of your readers are in town, you can actually go and book a VR experience, no cost. You can go in there, and what's incredible about it is you're like think about being in your own Indiana Jones experience, right? So there's a platform, and I believe it's no cost, don't call it. They didn't charge me, so I think it's fun. But the stage, actually, it's on hydraulics, so it moves. And you're with a group of 4 people, and you've got the suit on, you've got sensors on your hands and your feet. What I found was very realistic is that you have tangible objects. So you're holding a pole, which becomes a torch, right? You're going through the dark, trying to find your way around. And at some point you get separated from your group. So you kind of split off into twos.
Right.
And what's crazy is there's a moment where it looks like you're a mile away from each other, even though you're like really 10 feet, and there's boulders coming at you. There's all these things and they got wind blowing and the stage is moving. There's a part where you're like on going through a mine shaft on a cart. I felt like I was in the middle. It was so surreal. It was so emotional. You come out of there, you're just like, what just happened? Like, I just felt like I was in a movie because everything is moving around you, and they incorporated, reality with virtual reality in such a way that it felt so real. So I know you can take people in those experiences and it'll just take you, blow your mind. It's very Ready Player One. To answer your other question, I've been talking a lot about the progression, right? So we talked about glasses. The next is contacts. They're already trying to get FDA approval on contacts with a very tiny microscopic chip. So you and I could be out and, hey, Scott, I'm going to make a phone call real quick, or I'm going to check out this, this commercial. Boom, I'm in VR. You don't even know unless I tell you. Beyond that, the next level is Neuralink, right? So, Elon Musk's program, you can actually still take in volunteers. My son works for him. And you can, go and boom, I'm in VR, right? There's some really great Black Mirror episodes. And there's actually one that kind of talks to what you just said about two older ladies. I don't want to spoil it, but they are in a virtual reality environment because their mind has been backed up into this world and they're dying, right? But that's eventually, and then you die and you can decide, hey, I want to live in this virtual world forever. My consciousness is going to live in this. And this is a real thing. I've got to meet Tony Robbins a couple of times, and he's talked about this for a while. He has been actively uploading all his memories, all his knowledge into an AI, so he can live on after he dies, right? So, and you can get into a whole spiritual, ethical argument about, is it a soulless creature, right? These things are happening. We've already seen, I know I don't want to go too far, down the rabbit hole, but being able to back up your consciousness, be able to create a robot version of yourself. Is it you just because it has your memories? Like, as a spiritual person, I'd say no. But, I was just growing up as a kid watching Superman movies. I remember watching that and he's talking to his dad, who's been dead for tens of thousands of years. At the end of the day, his dad was just a holographic AI that was talking to him and be able to interact, answer questions. That's all Jarrell was. This is back in the 70s, and they had already thought of this. So does life imitate art? Does art imitate life? It's always a great question, but definitely ahead of its time. So
wait, does Neuralink actually have that now? Like you basically go into VR mode and you're comatose and experiencing something? No, I don't think so. Right?
Not yet. But my point is that because you're going into the brainstem, there's so much that Elon can do with it. And there's other companies coming out with it. He's using it right now for people with obviously neurological issues, disabilities. Yeah. But you think about it, like, you're going right into the brainstem. You could easily tap into it and go, okay, I'm going to go into a virtual world. So the sky's the limit, once you're there. So will people sign up for it? I don't know. I kind of like the Matrix, like download helicopter training and I want to be a Kung Fu master, download it. There we go.
Yeah. You can see, sometimes you can see the rationale for these things with regards to like cost savings, resource savings, like you described, like you're doing actually, or like life savings in terms of officers being better prepared. You can see it in terms of entertainment or just exhilaration. It's good for dopamine. Do you think there's any reasons other than that? And I guess living forever, immortality, maybe.
Yeah. Looking at like I was saying, like Richard Donner way ahead of his time, the Wachowski, from Superman, Wachowski brothers with the Matrix, like, being able to see those situations and yeah, there's that dopamine effect. If your audience has seen, a lot of people have seen Ready Player One by Steven Spielberg, these people are living in a dystopian world, right? Everything around them sucks. But when I'm in VR and I'm in my avatar, it's no longer second person. It's not Sims, it's first person. I'm living, I'm transacting, I'm buying things. Like I've always believed, and I know I feel strongly that it's going to happen. Blockchain, XR, AI, all these technologies to converge in one ecosystem. So we're not going to have these conversations of AI versus XR. It's going to be one world, and we're going to be able to live and work and transact in that world, in this digital environment. And that's what Hollywood's been kind of trying to tell us, but I really believe it's happening. And I'm already starting to see that convergence, especially now with the last, year and a half, 2 years with AI's, emergence.
Yeah, yeah. I do remember. I remember shortly after ChatGPT made the turn. I think 3.5 is when it got real crazy,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly. And Hacker News there was a long thread, and people were just dreaming about, man, this is going to be like they were just going to be plugged in and be generating TV episode after TV episode that I'm going to be able to participate in. It's going to know all my responses and hooked up to my sweat glands and know when I'm excited or whatever. And somebody said, if the exchange is that I am a battery, and in exchange I get like this unlimited reel of entertainment, hook me up. And I was like, no, I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
I mean, as an artist, as a creative, all of us went, oh my gosh, I saw the first, release of Sora and I was like, oh no, and I think there was initial panic where I've come to realize, and for a lot of creatives and really any job, is AI doesn't replace people. It replaces people that don't embrace it, that don't embrace AI. And it's here. It's not going anywhere. I was up in the mountains up in northern Arizona, and I was talking to this lady, and she's like, I don't want anything to do with AI. I don't like it. I don't want to use it. And I wanted to say to her, you're already using it, ma'am. You don't realize it. It's kind of like the internet when Katie Couric and Good Morning America, I think it was like 30 years ago. I have this old clip, and they're literally sitting there and, what's the internet? What's www? I don't understand. Explain it to me. And you watch that video and you just laugh. You're like, what goofballs, but that's where we are now. Like AI, it's so new, it's all the buzz. I just got back from Charlotte. I just spoke to several hundred marketers on AI and XR, and it was awesome. I told them on the stage, I said, fast forward a few years from now, AI is going to just be part of our life. We're not going to have conferences talking about it. It might be some cool new tech that's out that it's created or some other application, but it's not going to be, nobody does conferences anymore about let's talk about the internet. Right. So it's here. My brother is a senior programmer, and him and I have this conversation all the time. He uses it to amplify his work. He's like, I can program 10 times faster with AI, but it still needs a human, someone to oversee it, someone to check it, because it makes mistakes. Same thing with what I do, with video creation, things like that. We use it to speed up our process, but man, it makes mistakes. It needs a human. As of now, as of today, it needs a human to feed it. And if, an artist that understands lighting and, framing and character design, some person can't just say, okay, make a movie. Like there's a whole lot of thought that goes into it still. And that's where we are today. Now, 5 years from now, it might be a different conversation. I do like to say it's a bell curve. I think our human mind likes to think in a very linear fashion, right? Technology. Well, if you kind of goes like this, right? You look at, I'm watching these old, religious shows, and you see the time, from David to, to Jesus. It's like, the technology even exists, their lives look the same. You think of now to, the last, I even say the last 5 years, holy crap, it's a bell curve, and it's going to shoot up so quickly. And I think that we have a hard time comprehending that change. And we think it's going to be gradual. And I'm not expecting that. I know that, what we think is going to be probably 5 years is probably a year. And what we think is 10 years is probably half of that. So
what was your talk to? What was your talk to the marketers? What were you? What was the topic of the thing that you were saying?
Yeah. So part of it, I did an initial roundtable and we talked about, really how to leverage AI and immersive for marketing. And these are a lot of real estate developers. They're doing these big high rises, think all around the world.
Right.
And they're trying to understand what AI tools should I be looking at? What immersive tools should I be looking at? And so I kind of gave them, there's a really cool site. There's an AI for that. Gives you a great list of things you can type stuff. And I tell people, if you're doing something that feels monotonous, you don't want to be doing it, just go in and type it up and it'll come up. But so I kind of gave them some ideas there. And then on the stage, I ran a panel of other developers, and they kind of led the talk on XR and AI as well. So it was really, it was a lot of fun.
And do you do quite a bit of presenting, quite a bit of talking?
I do, yeah. So I did talk before that. I was in Austin. I've done all the way to London, so kind of all over the place. Travel quite a bit, doing talks on everything from XR to video and AI. So it's a lot of fun.
I should ask, who runs the company while you're gone, but I think we know. There's an AI for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
No, seriously, let's talk a little bit about business. Like, so tell me about how you, like how big you are and how you organize yourself, particularly around, I'm a goals guy. So I'm kind of curious how people set goals, how you keep everybody aligned, driving,
Yeah.
driving them. Like, what does that look like?
I'll tell you, as an artist, I spent quite a few years, and I said in business 23 years, uh, a large portion of that, probably 15, being an artist. And it wasn't until I met Tony Robbins, and he said, the only way you're going to grow is you got to stop just being an artist. You got to be a business person. And I had done business course. I have a degree in business. I had joined business groups. What I realized was I was the constraint. I was the choke point. I felt as an artist, and all entrepreneurs do this, I got to touch everything. I got to be on every call. I got to be on every production. The client expects me. I got to be the go-to person. And partly it feeds their ego, right? The client comes to you and you're like, hey, I'm going to save the day. Your employees come to you like, I got the answers, right? What happens is, as we were scaling, I realized this isn't sustainable, and I want to grow, a lot larger. And so what I've realized is I need to build a team. I need to train them. I need to trust them to go out and help me build this company. And when I did that, we started growing at about 75% a year, which was fast. Like all of a sudden we're doubling. I was like, oh my God. And so I hired a coach who does very similar to EOS, kind of a combination of EOS and Gazelles, Vern Harnish. And so we took a lot of the tools. He said, okay, you need to have a leadership team. You need to have, your direct reports, and then departments, employees that report to them. And so we do now, we implement a lot of the, rocks. We have daily huddles, we have weekly, team department meetings, annual summits. So doing all that. And at first my employees were like, why are we doing all these meetings? I said, so we can communicate, because what happens when you don't address issues and people can't voice concerns, man, like the rumor mill starts. Well, what's happening? What's going on? And he said that, she said that, and it's just a nightmare. So that was a big transition for us, was really creating that structure.
What you said that you kind of do, actually, let me ask you this. What do you find to be the most valuable part of EOS?
I think the most valuable part of EOS is that as entrepreneurs, and I ran like this for years, our hair's on fire all the time, right? Something's going on and we're running like a chicken with our head cut off. And we never really know, like, okay, well, I'm going to put that fire and that fire out and deal with this issue. And there's just a million things always going on. And, through the program, it was Michael Erath, Next Level Growth, who I worked with. And then I was a member of EO for several years, Accelerator, then I moved up into Entrepreneurs Organization. But having that group of people really helped a ton. But I would say, having that platform, it allowed me to really prioritize, number one, issues, but creating that formal structure to be able to properly manage a company and grow a company. Because when it's everything coming and funneling through, like I was saying, it's impossible. You only have so many hours in a day. And I liken it to like a hairdresser or a doctor, all great professions, right? But how many patients can you see? My wife's in the medical field. You can only see X amount of patients a day. You're trading time for money. If you want to run a business, right, and not be a solopreneur, how can you create an exponential ability to make money with having multiple employees helping to scale that, not being so dependent on you? So the idea was like, hey, I want to go on vacation for a week. Is there still revenue coming in, right? Can the business run without me? And that's a great test.
Totally.
So those have been,
Yeah, I mean, so EOS has a few different components, a lot of components, actually. It's quite expansive, but there's like level 10 meetings, there's rocks, there's like the org chart thing,
right.
There's the vision tractions, something I can't remember. Like, is there something in there that you're like, yeah, if I could take one part of EOS, not the rest, I would take that. What is it?
I mean, everything you said was really valuable. I think the level 10 meetings, and I would say that just, like our leadership meetings, we do our level 10 meetings. And again, it's a little of a hybrid, but having that ability is, to sit with your leadership team. And I'll tell you, like, it's not for the faint of heart. You got to sit there and be able to really dive deep into issues, and your employees are going to call you out on stuff. And as a leader, like, you got to have a thick skin and be able to listen to them. So I would say that has been, for me personally, the biggest opportunity for growth, to be able to sit back. Okay, like, a lot of times we make decisions, in a silo or on our own little island, where now like I've got a team I'm accountable to, and I've told them, you have the permission to call me out and say, hey, why did you make that decision? Let's talk about it. I'm not always right. Someone has to make a decision at the end of the day. It's not always the right decision, right? But let's talk about it and let's fix it. So I think the level 10 meetings have been probably the most impactful. Everything else you mentioned has been awesome. Accountability charts, like everything, but that would probably be the most impactful.
Yeah, that's part of the reason I asked the question, because you're not the only one that said that. Somebody else has said that to me too. Level 10 meetings are the most impactful part. You talked about the hybrid with gazelles. For people that don't know gazelles, like just maybe unpack that slightly, and then I'm curious what you combined, and why.
Yeah. So scaling up is the term. He did a Rockefeller habit. Met Vern several times. He's actually one of the founders of EO. EO is very similar to YPO. They're kind of cousins in some way. A lot of people go to EO, then go up to YPO. I found that when I was reading his books and then reading Gino Wickman's books, I was like, man, there's a lot of similarities. They're just calling it different stuff. And I'm by no means, I wouldn't say, and I've coached small businesses, but I am not an official coach. So I don't want to butcher it. But what I found is like, I can take pieces of each of those. One other book that really influenced me was The 4 Disciplines of Execution.
Yeah.
And that was a really important book for me or as a company, because we were looking at our gross profit numbers as we really started diving into it. We realized like, we're not tracking it properly. And we started tracking it, I was like, oh my gosh, like we've got to get that number up. And so we decided, okay, let's go for this benchmark. That became, our wildly important goal, right? So the whole 4 disciplines, right? You have to set that wildly important goal, right? You have to have a scorecard. You have to have accountability. You got to have meetings every week. And it's 4 simple things. Man, that changed everything. For us, it was like, we all kind of rallied around it. And what was really cool, by the end of the year, we hit that number.
Yeah.
And because everybody was on board. So I can't say I truly believe in, there's people that drink the EOS, Kool-Aid.
Oh, yeah.
Others that drink, the scaling. Honestly, I'm a big fan, like glean from all of them, pick the things that you feel at your business that's going to be the most helpful. And that's why I picked the coach ad, because that's what he does. But that was kind of how we went about it. I mean, there's, you can read Simon Sinek's, but there's tons of stuff in there too. So there's some great authors there.
Yeah, I think it's kind of people wonder what should I pick, and I always have these questions because I'm kind of like a business operating system nerd. I'm curious about people's experiences with the different ones. But so what was it about? So just for everybody listening, the 4 Disciplines of Executions from the Covey group or whatever,
right?
The successor to Stephen Covey, and it's in this same realm. Very interesting, useful book as well. But yeah, it has this idea of the wildly important goals, and it's quite rigorous. It's quite kind of like measurement and accountability and these weekly meetings.
Right.
But what was it? That doesn't EOS have all that too, or what kind of like what's the difference why did you have to go out of the EOS ecosystem in order to get that thing? What was missing?
There's so much in EOS. There's so many great things. And again, I don't get paid to say this stuff, it's like pick whatever program you want. But I think that EOS has a lot of things, right? There's, like you said, level 10, there's accountability, there's a lot of stuff. What I liked about the 4 Disciplines Execution, he takes out one piece of it and just really hammers it. And you could argue that, hey, it's a rock, right? There's a capability, you're setting a measurable goal, whatever. But the way the 4 Disciplines does it, it's like, hey, we're gonna all rally behind this one thing as a company, and we're all gonna get on board. I mean, it's I'm just reading this for the second time. Can't really say great game of business. Very similar in some things that Jack Sack does. I'm thinking about going out and checking it out and joining actually the next few months. But with what they do there, it just simplifies and it just shined a light on it. It was all right. Let's just pick one thing, because I felt like we all had rocks, department rocks, individual rocks, and with the wiki, it was just one thing. It's like just so simple, and it worked. It's worked a few times now, and so we always have a new wig once we accomplish it. And he says once you accomplish it, it goes back into the whirlwind, which is just the everyday stuff, right? And there's another book by Thomas Keller, The One Thing, And, he talks a lot about, pick one thing that if you do that will change everything else, because we're such a distracted society. And we talk about XR and glasses and, pop-ups and TV. I mean, videos, like we've never been so distracted. It's no wonder that, I don't know, I probably have adult ADHD. We all do, right? There's just so much going on every day. And you think of your business, like you're just in the whirlwind all the time. So it pinpoints one thing that you could really go, and then, okay, let's go on to the next thing. So that's why I liked it.
Yeah, I think you're right. All of these systems, in a way, one lens to look at all of these things is focus and overcoming distraction, because there are, there's 150 directions that we could take our attention. And you're right. That is a strength of the 4 disciplines, is that it's very much about, yeah, no kidding. This is the thing we're going to do. And we're going to be deadly serious about that for a while until it's done. Yes. So that is its strength.
There's some good videos that people can watch on YouTube. One of the ones they use for training, it's like this gentleman's running a grocery store, and it's failing miserably. And, the baker aisle's a mess, like, parking lot's a mess. And, he said, look, let's set a wildly important goal to get our revenue up. But what can you do as an individual? And the baker lady's like, I'm so busy. Well, he goes, can you just have fresh new items out every morning? Because the display was a mess, right? She's like, yeah, I guess I could do that. To the guy doing the carts, can you just make sure that, all the carts are, with 30 minutes or what? Everybody picked one thing that they could do to affect that goal. And it was simple. It was so simple. And as in our minds, like, we complicate things. He hit his numbers. He became one of the highest grossing grocery store in that chain. But he got his team to rally upon, what's the one little thing you could do to help? That was it.
Right.
Right. Don't worry about the 10 other things. Just do the one thing.
Right.
Then we'll go to the other stuff. So
you said that you've kind of focused everybody's attention on a singular thing a couple times, or maybe 3. One was the gross profit, but what were some of the others that you focused people on?
Yeah, that's a great question. So one of the ones we're working on now is, and it's funny when you do this, I believe you put it out to the universe, right? We wanted to have a commercial play for the Super Bowl, a nationally televised commercial for Super Bowl. And oddly enough, we put that out there and we got a national spot. It wasn't for the Super Bowl yet, but played on MSNBC and CNN shortly after that. And so we're that same year, we did one of our largest commercials ever. So it's starting to come to fruition. I truly believe, and I told my team, even if we don't get in the Super Bowl, even if that doesn't happen, which would be awesome, look what we've done this year. We've got stuff on national broadcasts. We have some of the biggest, budget spots we've ever done. But we shot high. You aim for the stars, hit the moon on the way up. Like, I'm not complaining. So, and we're making headways with some big agencies. So it's been a lot of fun.
That's cool, man. What was the commercial that you're proud
of? So the first one that played national was called Earnings Hub. And so he has created this like online platform. We did kind of a comedy spot, and it's been really successful. And it's kind of showing guys trying to use a bingo card to check their earnings, and so it's kind of playing on that, how we make it simple. And then the large spot was called MTX Audio. So it's one of the largest speaker companies, but he's working in getting in airports, actually in a lot of airports, but he has a whole AI technology also in schools, so he can detect different things. So it's pretty cool. And so now it's just growing to, he's in, I think, every country now. He's got offices all over the world. So we did a really big brand spot for him, because he's like, my issue is that I have a really hard time explaining to people what I do. Yes, I'm in boats and I'm in cars, and so we created this really cool brand spot for him. It's been really great. So that was a lot of fun. And we had to shoot all over. We shut down an airport in Ontario, California for a couple of days, which is hard to shut down part of an airport. So
that's not a tiny airport, if I remember correctly.
No, it's not. It's a lot of logistics. You imagine doing the, TSA and everybody there. It was not easy, but we made it happen. So it was fun.
Oh, that's fun. Rami, we could talk for longer, but we got to wrap it up. But thanks for talking to me about, a future of the human race, for one, and business on the other hand, and what you're up to with the work that you're doing. I appreciate you taking the time and tell me what's what. It's great.
Absolutely. I'm glad to be here. We covered some really cool stuff, and yeah, we could do this talk all day, but hopefully your listeners got some value out of this, and happy to be a resource if somebody has any questions for me. So thank you, Scott.
That's good, man. Have a good rest of the day, Rami. Thanks for coming.
Take care. Thank you.
Founders, if you're struggling to manage goals and execution with your team, HabitStack can help with that. I'm Scott Ward. Thank you for joining me on the HabitStack Podcast.